Brooks Herring, singer-songwriter, Navy veteran, really an incredible story of a guy that before 40 has lived like 5 different lives. Mm-hmm. And I think if you pull up a photo, like most people just listening, you need to see Brooks in order to also understand who Brooks Herring is. Like, just his look. Not only does he just look like a badass singer-songwriter Navy veteran, I mean, he just has that whole look, but it also reveals, when you look into his eyes, that he's gone through a lot, good and bad. Mm-hmm. He's seen a lot of trauma, and he's still wearing it today.
His comfort level with hard things. Mm-hmm. And that sounds so simple, right? But his ability to stay in the hard and talk honestly and openly about the hard puts so many, I think, public figures or personas to shame, because he's not sugarcoating it. We got into it about his family. At the end, he was talking about his sobriety, about how he burned bridges while he was in the military, which is the one thing he thought he was ever going to do. But he was willing to say hard things and be comfortable, not in a self-deprecating way and not in a feel bad for me way. It was just a very genuine, like, yeah, that kind of sucked. I would do it different if I knew better, but I guess I'm here now. And it's hard to call a conversation that is that deep and that broad and intense refreshing. But I do find myself leaving talking to Brooks feeling refreshed by the candor of that.
You and I both love the Enneagram, and not everybody listening will know what that is. They should read about the Enneagram. It has given us a common language to understand people's personality at a level that has served me in business and personal in so many ways. But he is so clearly a 4 on the Enneagram. And for those that aren't familiar with it, a lot of the most gifted artists are 4s. And that personality has this unique ability to sit in the awkward, in the uncomfortable, in the traumatic, and be able to see it not as something uniformly negative, but instead to see it as part of the scars that allow them to be uniquely who they are today.
Yeah, it's beauty in the pain.
Beauty in the pain.
And you and I were actually laughing about this over the weekend. I'll just say it. There's no way to preface this one. We had a family, my parents' dog had to be put down over the weekend, and our daughter, that was all in her emotions, kept going back to it and crying at just like really hard moments. And my sweet 10-year-old loves animals so much, and she just really couldn't get through the pain. And I just so learned my deficiencies. I am a 2 on the Enneagram. 2s are the opposites of 4s in that we are completely uncomfortable with the painful moments. And I found myself very much coming up short in a mother in my empathy, because I wanted to care for our daughter. And I got so uncomfortable at one point that I started laughing. And I couldn't stop. And there's a syndrome for people like me. It's a problem. What is it?
You know, it's actually, so it is absolutely legitimate. So to make you feel better, there is a neurological, psychological response to being uncomfortable that comes out in some people as laughter, which makes it.
I'm doing it right now. I can't.
10 times worse, because, you see this just in really rare moments where it's at a funeral or it's when someone gets badly hurt. The last thing that you're actually doing is laughing, but it's your body's way of trying to deal with what is an incredibly stressful moment for you.
And it was 3 days of her being devastated, and I had tried everything I knew how to do, and I just felt like the worst mom in the world because I couldn't stop. And I was just so sad that she was so sad.
Yeah.
that I had this horrible nervous response. And maybe that's why I just found Brooks so, I bet he doesn't laugh when his kid is crying. I bet he is great at dealing with pain. And that's part of what we talked to him about too, of like, he is so uniquely gifted to sit in that with people. And the mental health crisis in our nation, not just for veterans, but including veterans, is so immense, and it feels almost like insurmountable. What are we going to do? And I think through his music, through his storytelling, he could make a really deep impact for a lot of people because he's better than me and can handle really hard emotion for a stronger period of time.
Yeah. The main takeaway I hear out of his whole story is the best moments of his life were ones where his mission and purpose was most clearly defined and understood by him. And the moments that were the very worst was where he had no clarity of what his mission and purpose was. And that is a lesson that applies to billions of additional people besides Brooks Herring. And I think that is the place to start, whether we're talking about mental health, talking about career goals, talking about relationship, is do you understand your mission and purpose? And to the extent that that's unclear, it's going to be really hard to take a single step past it until that part is solidified.